Hello, everyone. My name is Arthur Gauvin. I am the Partnership Coordinator at the Next Street Driving School. I'm here today to present Insuring a Teen Driver webinar. And I'm going to have a guest, Taunya Bird, who has been in the insurance industry for over 20 years. She has a lot of experience, and works for Smith Brothers, who we are partnered with. And we are really proud of that partnership and what we can do for you. So I'm going to have her on in a few minutes, and we're going to just kind of go through everything, answer any questions that you have, answer some questions that I have, and then we're going to take it from there. So first thing that I want to do is go quickly through where you can find more information about our partnership with Smith Brothers, as well as just more information about insuring a new driver. So I'm going to take you there now. So if you go to our website, thenextstreet.com, and then you do /insurance, then it's going to take you to this page. So this page has some useful stuff, as well as just a parent guidebook that you can download for everything you need to know when you're teaching your kid how to drive and beyond. So that's really useful. But really what I want to try to focus on, it has a lot of good information on here. What I want to focus on today is if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, it will talk to you about our partnership with Smith Brothers and the discount that they give, but as well as if you go through the Next Street, and as well, if you click insurance discount, it brings you to this free VIP insurance consultation page where you would put in your info, and then you would send it. It sends over to Smith Brothers, and they're going to give you a free consultation quote, as well as just answering any questions that you have about your insurance and what it's going to be like when you get a teenager on there, because I know a lot of people are nervous about that. So they're going to be there to kind of calm your nerves, talk to you, answer any questions. And speaking of, we're going to get right to it now. I'm going to bring on Taunya right now. This is Taunya Bird, and if you want to introduce yourself, Taunya, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here today. As Arthur mentioned, I am Taunya Bird, and I am a producing account executive with Smith Brothers Insurance Agency. Smith Brothers has been around since the early 70s, and we are very proud of our relationship with the Next Street Driving School. I personally work in personal lines insurance. So that's your auto insurance, your home, your excess liability, stuff like that. And I have been doing this job for about 23 years. So it is something that I do enjoy. And I don't know everything yet, but I usually do know where to find an answer when I get stumped. So one of my favorite things about this job is working with super cool people like the people at Next Street, and
Appreciate that.
helping people learn about their policies and the different coverages and stuff. So I'm hoping that's what happens here tonight, that I'm able to help you learn something new.
Yes. I think that's a great way to look at it too. You said something right at the beginning that I think was really important, where you have the experience now to know what you know and know what you don't know, where if you ever have any questions, or you know exactly where to find that information, which is really important, because
Right.
some people will just kind of think that they know every single thing and give you wrong information,
Yeah.
but that's not what we're here to do. So
Nice.
first thing that I was hoping that you could do is, I just have a few, frequently asked questions that I'm sure you get all the time, that we get at the Next Street, when they're going through the driver's ed process, that we
Mhm.
can't always answer, and we usually refer them to you. So I have a few questions that we have, that I think will be very important for today, just getting
Okay.
baseline information. So first thing, when your teen passes their test, how much coverage should you have for them? Because I know that that's a big question that a lot of people say, your teen is finally passed. Now what?
Right. How much coverage do we need? Exactly. So you absolutely have to have liability. And then depending on the type of vehicle, age of vehicle, all that determines whether or not you want some physical damage. But as far as the liability, the state minimum, I'll start with that, but then tell you what you should really have. But the state minimum is 25,000 per person, 50,000 per accident, and then 25,000 for property damage. And what that means is if you have an accident and you're at fault, whether you cause injuries or damage to whatever, you have $50,000 to take care of all of the injuries in the other vehicle, and not one person can eat up more than 25,000. And then you also have $25,000 to fix whatever it is you've crashed into. So that's the state minimum. At Smith Brothers, we believe that you should have at least 250,000 per person, 500,000 per accident, and then 100,000 for property damage. And you'd find when we do the quotes that it's really not that much more expensive to bump up that liability. And we do this because we want to make sure that we're protecting everything that you own and everything that you want to own in the future.
Yeah. I Yeah, I love that. Where, people try, they just look at state minimum, all that, but there's you're kind of treading dangerous water with that, and especially with a teenager, there's a good chance that there might be something that happens, and you want to
They
try
tend
to.
to bump into things.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I know when I first started driving, maybe a couple guardrails here and there when I'm parking, some curbs I hopped up on, that happens. So you want to just be ready for anything. So
Right.
so in that same kind of area of, how much liability or how much coverage should you have, what
Mhm.
determines the pricing of car insurance in general for a teenager? What are
Oh,
some of the
sure.
factors?
Absolutely. So, as far as pricing of a policy, it's going to take into consideration, of course, the drivers on the policy. How many drivers there are, their ages, their driving records. We're going to look at the location. Where are you? Are you more in a city? Hartford's usually a little bit more than Glastonbury. So location does determine the price too. Type of car, of course, and how the car is used. Are you traveling a lot, or are you using it just occasionally for pleasure use? And then, of course, discounts are a huge thing. Should we get into discounts?
Yeah, please go right ahead.
so, so when talking about discounts, so of course, one of the biggest discounts we have for young drivers is Next Street. So, like I said, this is one of our preferred relationships that we are so proud of, because we know that the Next Street instructors are awesome, and they're going to do everything they can to set you up for success. So right there, huge discount. Grades. Every A and B counts. So we do have good student discounts with all of our companies, and companies are different in how they break that down. So some give a discount for a B, some give a discount for an A, and then they give more of a discount. Are you on honor roll? Are you on the top 10% of your class? So all your grades matter. So don't worry if you didn't get all A's, you still may qualify for a good student discount. We have a Teensmart program with some of our companies. And what that is if Teensmart is a program with some of our companies, where you may take, although you've already taken a class, the company has their own 6 to 8 hour class that you can take online, and they give you 60 days to do it, so you don't have to rush right away, where they give you some more driving tips and stuff like that. So there's that discount. And then we have some telematics. And telematics, I joke about the old days, which was only about 4 years ago, because
Right.
how it's changed so much. When they first came out, the first company to really advertise it well was Progressive.
Okay.
And they had their device, I forget the snapshot, that you could plug into your car. And then a lot of companies followed suit. So you could plug it in right under the steering wheel, and it would report in some things like whether it's hard braking, rapid acceleration, how far you drive if you're driving, in early hours of the morning. Now it's on your cell phone. So now it's an app that you download. So some have the plugin, but most now just deal with an app, and it helps you with your driving habits. And they give pretty significant discounts for that. And one of our companies even has it to where most of the parents can see everything, but one of the companies reports to the parents. So we give a discount just for that. The company doesn't see the driving habits, but they are pretty sure that the parents are giving pretty constructive feedback.
Yeah,
So they give
you'd hope to see that. Well,
so
that's really interesting. So the whole idea of, I know when I first got car insurance, well, actually not when I first got car insurance, but I guess about 4 or 5 years ago, like you were saying with the telematics, was my insurance company at the time was giving me those things where, if I had the app running on my phone, like, and obviously I wasn't looking at my phone, but I had my phone in the car, it could tell how fast you were going and stuff like that, and when you're driving the speed limit and stuff like that, and it was really interesting, and I did it, and I mean, I drive like a grandma, so I had an easy time with it, and it helps. It gave me a discount, and that when you're in your late teens, early 20s, that those discounts are really huge, because no matter what, it's hard to avoid that it's going to be a little bit pricier for teens as opposed to so in thinking about it, one thing that I always remember hearing growing up was that girls, when they got their license, would have lower insurance rates than guys. What is that? How true is that? What are some of the things about that?
There's some truth to it.
Okay.
Sure, there's some truth to it, but not as big as it used to be. It really used to be a thing. A significant difference is what I should say. It's a thing. There used to be more of a significant discount. I'm sorry, a significant difference in price. Between the male drivers and the female drivers. The guys, they thought, got a little bit of crazy, but the girls were a little more responsible. But when cell phones became more popular, that actually changed a bit with the young ladies on their cell phone. So so there is a little difference, but it's not at all what it used to be.
Okay. And so just because you touched on it, how big of a problem have cell phones really become in the car, with when it comes to insurance and all that? Like, how much of a factor do those things play into it, and do you see, I know it's becoming more of a problem. I mean, I work at a driving school, we talk about it a lot, but I'm interested to see kind of that side of it too with the insurance,
From what I have personally seen, Arthur, I feel from my own experience that it's getting a little bit better. Like, I really do think that kids are even adults, I think we're finally getting the hint that these things are dangerous. We're distracted, we're taking our eyes off the road. And more and more now, when I text someone, I'm getting back a notification, I'm driving right now, my phone is not turned off,
Yeah.
So I think more people are using those things that are available to them, and they truly aren't texting and driving as much as they used to be. Now it's still a problem, but I think it's getting better.
Yeah, I also think so. I mean, much like, drunk driving of the past, it was a horrible problem for so long, but as laws got more strict and as more, unfortunately, fatalities and all these horrible situations came, it did come with positive change. And I do feel like people, I mean, you can't drive on a highway, at least in Connecticut, in New England, without seeing, don't text and drive
Yeah.
billboard along, 95 or whatever. So
Mhm.
it that is good to see, and I know that there are organizations that are really trying to combat that, which I do really appreciate. We did have one question,
Right,
so
right.
and I want to I want to kind of go into this. So this is actually a very interesting question. So it's a bit of a two-parter, but I'm actually going to ask you the second part first. So uh, he asked, he's a single father with shared custody. Do both parents need to have the driver on their policy? And what can someone? I know it's really difficult to say, and we talked about the ranges, but he asked, what can you expect when you add them to your policy? What kind of increases?
Absolutely. So the first part of that, it kind of depends. So no, the young driver would not necessarily need to be rated as a full-on operator in the household on both. Usually, as part of the court documents and whatnot, usually there's an agreement of who is going to carry the insurance.
Mm.
So if dad is carrying the insurance, then mom may have the young driver on her policy as a non-rated driver in the household. So the company is still aware that they're there. You may see usually it's a pretty small increase. Um, but it's just a matter of, we know that you have a young driver that comes over, that drives, blah blah blah. But whoever is the primary one to have them on their insurance, then they would be a full-on driver, a rated driver on that household.
Yeah.
As far as adding the young driver, if you did you ask me how much?
Yeah, or
Okay.
just what can you expect when you add them? I think is a better question, because I know that there's such a wide range, and it can really vary house to house. But
Yeah. So it does determine, it does differ from house to house. But normally, if you don't add, it depends too if you're adding a car with the young driver.
mm-hmm.
If you have the same number of cars as drivers, or more cars than drivers, then all drivers have to be listed as a primary operator, which then means that that young driver is going to be a brand new driver listed as a primary operator. So you're going to see, probably even with the discounts, a significant increase.
Yeah.
Um, if you have more drivers than vehicles, then the young driver can just be listed as an occasional operator. And usually you don't see as much of an increase for that. Now it still could be $1,000 a year,
Right.
um, you know, six, seven, it could be, depending on really what you have for vehicles and coverage and all of that. So you still would see, I don't want you to feel like I'm tricking you into, oh, it won't go up that much. It'll go up.
Yeah.
But a savings would be if you have more drivers than cars.
Okay. Yeah, and that's
Does that
interesting too.
make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And it does bring me to another one of those, kind of myths that you heard when you're growing up, where, some people would be put on their own insurance. When you become a teen, you get put on your own insurance plan. What,
Mhm.
what exactly? I don't know if I'm just not understanding what people were saying, but is that something that you would ever recommend, or is it even possible?
It is possible, but for a young person to have their very first insurance policy, right after they get licensed, I mean, that policy is going to be unbelievably high.
Right.
So usually the best way to insure them is if we can add them to the parents' policy. And honestly, if the young driver's in your household, you're responsible for them anyway. So putting them on their own policy doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I'm not responsible for them. You still can get sued because they're young and they're yours.
For sure.
So putting them on your policy, they have access to all of the discounts. They have access to multi-policy discounts. They have access to being just an occasional operator, access to multi-car discounts. So there's so many discounts that you probably, as an adult, already have on your policies, that adding the young driver to your policy is going to cost a lot less than if that young driver with no multi-policy, no multi-car, brand new driving, that's going to cost a lot.
Right. And yeah, if that driver gets into an accident, which is kind of brings me to my next question of what do you what does a teen do in the event of them getting into an accident? But if they do get in an accident, it's just going to be compounded, I'm sure, and that much worse if they're on their own policy.
Oh, yeah. So
Right.
then, also the parents may have been with a company, or parent may have been with a company for years, and there's some claims free discounts on there, that maybe the
Yeah.
first one's forgiven or whatever, where the young person just starting out has built up nothing. Now, once they're on your policy for a couple of years and they've built up, the insurance companies know how they drive, they know, how to rate them, then it's easier to move them, when they want to go buy their first, nicer car without mom and dad, then it's easier to get them their own policy a little bit down the road.
Mm-hmm. And so you've finally got your license, you're on the insurance plan. Unfortunately, like it happens with many people, I know I experienced it. You get into an accident. What do you do both as a teen in that situation, you're driving on your own, and as a parent? What would you suggest as the next steps?
Absolutely. And I think, the first time you and I talked, Arthur, it was right after Super Bowl Sunday. That afternoon, I had an accident. So,
Yes.
so I know that, that was my first one, like, ever. So, or first
Crazy.
at fault ever. So,
Right.
so the first may seem, it's easier said than done, but stay calm.
Yeah.
Truly just try to stay calm if you're in an accident. And you want to call the police immediately. Regardless, it's always great to have the police, because if someone else hits you and then you all just exchange phone numbers and y'all drive away, you would be amazed how that story could change of what actually happened. So although they ran into you, by the time it gets, to insurance companies, maybe they're saying you backed into them. So it's always good to call the police and get an actual accident report. And then you do not need, don't give a statement to that other party. You can see if they're all right. You can
Mm-hmm.
certainly talk to them if you feel comfortable. It's good to just stay in your car too if you want. But, don't tell them, oh, it was my fault. It's, let the police work that out. You don't have to give them a statement. You do want to make sure you're collecting everybody's information. So, make sure you get their name, if you can get their driver's license information, but definitely their name and their insurance information. And then you've got your smartphone right there. Take
Yeah.
pictures of everything. And then, of course, call your agent. And the same, with the parents, you're going to call in that claim. Usually the parents are the ones that are going to call in the claim rather than the young driver. But then at some point, the insurance company may, just say, hey, can we just verify some of the information with the driver? But usually the parent can just navigate the claim for the child.
Okay. And I really think that the one of the things you said is just so important because I know so when you get into an accident, it's a very stressful situation. Everybody's stressed, tensions are generally very high. And when you're a teenager, especially a new inexperienced driver, sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
can get, I've seen it. I've been there when I was riding with my girlfriend in high school and we got into an accident and it was clearly the guy's fault, but he was kind of trying to take advantage and say it was our fault, we're teens, we're younger, and us kind of going back and forth just didn't help the situation. So I really
Right.
think that
Right.
what you kind of touched on with don't feel like you have to give a statement. Again, checking if someone's okay is
Yeah.
totally fine. And if they're not, obviously calling an ambulance. But when when it's when it's kind of just going back and forth, it usually just doesn't end well, and you want to try to just de-escalate the situation by
Right.
not doing
Right.
too much, because again, I've definitely I'm definitely someone that would get a little defensive in those situations, and it just never works out the way you want it to. It ends up just kind of biting you in the end. So I think calling the
Right.
police and just kind of waiting it out, taking
Let
care of
them
it
work
that
it.
way, yeah,
Yeah.
is the way to
Yeah.
go.
Perfect.
So one thing I wanted to ask that was a question that I had been thinking about. Someone recently, so I have a dash cam in my car that
Okay.
runs even while it's parked. I don't have a fancy car, but that's the one thing I got because I've had people hit my car before, and I try to make sure that everything's good. And
Hmm.
somebody claimed that I hit their car, which I didn't, and then I was lucky enough to have they called the police and everything, and I was lucky enough to have dash cam footage of the past 24 hours that they claimed, and my car hadn't moved. I hadn't left the area. I do understand why they kind of thought it was me. We had dents in similar spots, and there was like the paint of my car. Like, I get it, and I understand. And those times I've been hit, and people have not, done anything. But it was frustrating, and I was wondering, what does having a dash cam help you in any way with when it comes to insurance? Like, is that something that is factored in?
It's not factored in as far as
Mm-hmm.
any discount or anything like that. The way that that would help you is if, you see someone, the camera picks up someone hitting your car and driving off, and then you were able to, get their, license plate number,
Yeah.
certain things like that, or like like you were saying, it definitely, if there's questions during the claim process, it could bring some clarity to that. So it's beneficial in some ways, but there's no in our
Direct discount.
companies
Yeah.
anyway, my experience, I don't have a specific discount for that.
Yeah, but again, I definitely always recommend it if you can do it and you can have it. I mean, it's kind of saved me that headache of. I mean, I know that in that certain situation, there was really nothing that anyone could do. But I
Right.
still just don't want to have anybody filing claims against me and having it become a whole thing. So I
Right.
definitely recommend it, and I know you just said you do too. So, get a dash cam if you can. It
Right.
can really help
Yeah.
you. Okay, a couple more things.
Sure.
Um, so again, we were talking about an accident, and staying calm in that. Maybe when you're a teen, you sometimes are maybe a little distracted. You're speeding a little bit or whatever, and you get pulled over.
Mhm.
How long do accidents and tickets stay on your record, and when you're a teenager? Because that's something that just can be very scary when you're young.
It, it can be. And most companies now count accidents and violations up to 5 years. So they do stay on there for a while.
Yeah, they're on there for a little bit, so make sure you drive
But
safe.
they'll go away, right?
Yeah, but it will go away, and one here and there is not gonna be the end of you, but don't make it happen.
Don't make it a habit.
um. Okay, so let's see. What other questions? I'm just looking at the chat right now. I want to see if there's
Yeah,
anybody who had
sure.
any questions here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, again, anybody who's watching right now, I see that we have some viewers. I would love to hear some of your questions that you have about the insurance process and insuring your teen. And it's definitely a bit of a scary situation. I'm sure you deal with parents all the
It,
time that are stressed about this process.
Yeah, but I mean, but what's funny is I think that some have themselves worked up a little too much by not maybe having all the information and hearing horror stories from people, and sometimes horror stories are a little exaggerated. So sometimes it's
Hmm.
not as bad, as they think. Or there are ways. Originally they might think, oh, we won't do the telematics, but then once we discuss price, they're like, how much if we download the app?
Right, right.
So I mean, it's gonna go up, but try not to be scared. And you know what, whoever your agent is, if you're preparing for this, they might be able to start. Of course, I'd love for you to call me. My
Right.
number is on that page.
Yep.
But whoever your agent is, start, feel free to start grabbing that information now and start getting some pricing.
Yeah, and again, the ability to, with this partnership that we have, the ability to just go to you and ask questions, and there's nothing to commit yourself to, and it's just about, we want to be a resource for these types of questions and these situations because, again, it's getting your license. It's a big deal, and we want to be there kind of every step of the way.
That's absolutely right, Arthur, because we understand at Smith Brothers, I understand, that we're not for everybody. There may be, different situations that maybe we can't insure, or maybe you've got something that you've had forever, so the pricing just wouldn't compare. But if you have any questions at all, we're happy, absolutely happy to be that resource. And not just for the parent. I've it's funny, after our last call, I've had a couple of young drivers reach out with questions, and I loved that.
Yeah.
So anyone that has questions, truly take advantage of this relationship and ask anything.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, there's the link is right in the corner here. You've been looking at it the whole time you've been watching the stream. thenextstreet.com/insurance, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page, it'll bring you to you click a link and it brings you to the page where you can actually request some information, ask any questions, talk to Taunya, and get more information that way. So we did get one question.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
if my teen driver's friend is driving the car
Oh,
and they get into an accident, what does that mean for their insurance?
sure. The insurance follows the car, not the driver.
Okay.
So if your
Don't
friend,
let other people drive your car.
don't let other people drive your car. Arthur, didn't this happen to you?
Yes, yes, exact. Yes, we talked about it last time, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a
Now,
fun situation.
exactly. Now, if they cause an accident and there's such high, injuries and stuff, then after your policy is maxed out, because your policy is first, theirs could come into play as an excess policy. But the insurance follows the car. So if your friend gets in an accident, it's your insurance.
So, kids, parents, just make sure you know who's driving the car. Um,
Yeah,
don't don't mess around with that stuff.
right.
Let's see. Any other, and again, the floor is open for any questions that anyone has. But I just wanted to get some any other thoughts, any other additional tips for young drivers that you can give your wisdom. I mean, you really
Yeah.
know the industry, and it's good to hear from you. So, any other tips that you would recommend?
Yeah, sure I would. So, one big one I think is to not let other people influence your decisions. So, if someone is tailgating, or try to not let that stress you out. Don't drive faster because someone behind you might be a little bit of a jerk. If someone's being waved on, if someone's waving you on, make sure that you are good to go. And then, try to avoid road rage. That never turns out well. Um,
It's never
so
worth it.
that's never worth it. And then sometimes afterwards, you even feel like a jerk. So it just, even if nothing horrible happens, it just doesn't feel good. So don't let others influence your driving decisions. And only, trust your eyes, so when you're in doubt about something, don't do it. So if the car, you can't tell if they're coming up fast, should I pull out or not? If you have any questions, just wait and then go.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
that's exactly what I say. As an instructor, whenever I've done lessons and taught classes, that's always been my number one thing. Where if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. Just
right.
take your time. I don't care if the person behind you's honking to make you turn right on red. If you don't feel comfortable in that situation,
Don't do
just
it.
don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't, like you said right at the top, don't feel pressured by how other people drive because, and I always tell people too, because tailgating happens. You're going to get tailgated. You're going to have some high beams at night right in your,
Uh,
rear view mirror. It's gonna happen, and just keeping your composure, not falling into the trap of getting mad yourself, and just doing the safe thing. Pull over, let them pass you if you can. If you
exactly.
can safely
You
pull
can.
over, and
Right.
it's just yeah, road rage. It never. You think it's gonna feel good, but it never feels good, and it never really it never helps the situation. Um, yeah, driving in Stanford now because I've been in Stanford for a little while, and yeah, there's definitely some moments where I have to just remind myself, drive politely, be
Right.
be
Right.
nice to people. I have to wear my shirt, polite driver. I'm wearing it right now, and I just have to remind myself to take a deep breath and
Yeah.
understand that it's just gonna happen. But
Right.
um,
Right.
all right, anything else that you want to say? I think we I think we've just been so thorough. We haven't had a lot of questions. I do see some viewers in here, but I think we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. If you have any other kind of closing thoughts.
Um, Really kind of like, what we just went over with, some tips. Truly, just be you, take a deep breath, take your time getting places, plan ahead, so that way you've got time to get somewhere so you don't have to speed. And then truly listen to these next street drivers. They know what they're doing. So and then if you have any questions, call me.
One other thing that I wanted to ask you about, just in closing here, is we are we are expanding to Massachusetts. Have recently opened up in Springfield, Massachusetts, and we're going to be slowly going throughout the state over there, much
Mhm.
like how we are in Connecticut. And I wanted to, I know that Smith Brothers is also in Massachusetts, correct? So,
Are. Yes, we are.
and I know that you would be the person for Connecticut, but is there any specific person
Yeah,
in
so
Massachusetts?
I do have a good friend, Cynthia, in Massachusetts. So if you reach out to me, I can certainly make sure she's available. If not, we can get really anyone on her team. But she is more familiar. I'm able to do Massachusetts, but there's a lot of rules with like the registry and stuff that she knows everything, and her office. So our office that we have there knows everything. So yeah, if you still reach out, I can make sure that I get her in touch with you right away.
Perfect. And we did just get a question in that actually wasn't asked. And this is a good question.
Okay.
Um, when should you start the insurance phase? Like during the permit phase or once they're licensed?
Sure. Most insurance companies are perfectly fine with, well, let me start over. Call your agent. But
Okay.
most insurance, because it's not all, so you want to make sure, but most insurance companies will wait until they're licensed to actually add them to the policy.
Hmm.
Some may still want to know and keep the information, get their permit number just so they have the information. But the majority of the companies don't actually rate on the young driver until they have their license.
So, Wendy, call your agent, double check, make sure that you're sure about what the policy is there, But yeah, and then the really the I think that's pretty much it. I really appreciate you being here and kind of giving us any advice. I really am excited about our partnership, and I know we're going to continue to grow as partners. And again, I will, the link is right here, thenextstreet.com/insurance. Right after, we say bye to Taunya, I'll show everyone one more time exactly where to find that on our webpage. And, if you have any questions about insurance, any inquiries, if you want a quote, Taunya is the person that you will talk to, and she's going to take care of you. So thank you so much, Taunya. I really appreciate you being here, and I will be seeing you very soon.
Thank you so much, Arthur. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly, again, show everyone where this is. So this is the page, but I'm going to show you how to get there. So thenextstreet.com/insurance. And then it's going to bring you to a page that looks like this, that has a lot of great information for, parents of new teen drivers, as well as just the driving process in general. So it's going to bring you through everything that you need to know with that. But the most important thing, and the reason why I'm showing you this page, is the very bottom where it says insuring a new teen driver. You would click on where it says insurance discount, and it's going to bring you to this page where you would fill out this little form, submit it. It's going to go straight to Taunya, who we just talked to. She's going to answer any questions, give you a quote, whatever you need. She's going to be there to answer any questions. So I think that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I'll be on next week. We're actually going to have, it's a very special one. We're going to have Brandon Dufour, who's our CEO. He's going to come on, and he's going to answer all the questions that everyone has about the driving school right now, about lessons, about hiring, everything that we've been kind of talking about and touching on for the past few months. We're going to get a lot of answers. So I'm going to be here. We're going to have Brandon on. So please come back for that. And if you missed any of this, it'll be on our Facebook page immediately, as well as our YouTube page right away. So you can rewatch it, get any information. And again, any questions, just ask Taunya or, email us. Thank you all so much.